A long time ago, a king and queen ruled over a distant kingdom. The queen was kind and beloved by all. However, she had only one sorrow: she longed for a child. One winter day, the queen sat by a wooden window, knitting a sweater. Suddenly, a beautiful snowbird landed on the window, startling her. In that moment of distraction, the knitting needle pricked her finger, and a drop of blood fell onto the snow outside. As she gazed at the red drop on the white snow, she imagined the face of a child. Amazed, she whispered a wish to the heavens: "Oh, snow god, I wish for a daughter with skin as white as snow, lips as red as blood, and hair as black as ebony." Soon after, the queen became pregnant, but she also fell gravely ill. Despite the best efforts of many healers, her condition worsened. The king reassured her, saying, "My love, do not lose hope. Our dream of having a child is about to come true." The queen smiled faintly. "I hope so, my love. Snow god has blessed us, and nothing can go wrong." Spring arrived, bringing new life and blooming flowers. As the days of childbirth approached, the queen's illness worsened. Then, on a bright morning, just as the winter snow was melting, she gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. The child had skin as white as snow, lips as red as blood, and hair as black as coal. The king was overjoyed. "My queen, you have given me the most precious gift of my life. Tell me, what do you desire? I will fulfill your every wish." The queen, weak but content, said, "I name her Snow White. Promise me, my king, that you will always take care of her. And promise me that you will marry again, and not live in sorrow after I am gone." Tears filled the king's eyes. "I will always care for her, my love. At any cost." With her final breath, the queen whispered, "Do not weep, my king. Farewell, my love." And she passed away. The king mourned deeply, but devoted himself to raising Snow White. However, his royal duties kept him busy, and he realized that his daughter needed a mother's love. Eventually, he decided to remarry. His new wife, the new queen, was breathtakingly beautiful but vain and cruel. She practiced dark magic and owned an enchanted mirror that always told the truth. Every day, the queen would ask, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?" The mirror would reply, "You, my queen, are the fairest of all." But as time passed, Snow White grew into a stunning young woman, even more beautiful than the queen. One day, when the queen asked her mirror the same question, it replied, "You, my queen, are beautiful, but Snow White is 1,000 times more fair." Furious, the queen summoned her huntsman and ordered, "Take Snow White deep into the forest and kill her. Bring me her heart as proof." The huntsman led Snow White into the woods, but could not bring himself to harm her. "Oh, dear princess," he said, "your stepmother wants you dead. But I cannot harm someone as kind and innocent as you. Run. Go as far as you can and never return." Terrified, Snow White ran deep into the forest, stumbling over rocks and thorns. As night fell, small birds gathered around her, pulling her scarf as if trying to guide her. Following them, she discovered a tiny cottage. Exhausted, she stepped inside. Everything was small but neatly arranged. On a table, 7 small plates of food were set. Unable to resist her hunger, she took a little from each plate and drank a sip of milk from each cup. Then, she lay on a tiny bed and fell into a deep sleep. That night, 7 dwarfs returned home from their work in the gold mines. Noticing signs of an intruder, they exclaimed, "Who sat in my chair? Who ate from my plate? Who used my fork? Who drank from my cup?" Finally, the 7th dwarf spotted Snow White sleeping in his bed. "Look! A beautiful girl is in my bed." The dwarfs gathered around her, marveling at her beauty. "Sure. Let her sleep," one whispered. The next morning, Snow White awoke and was startled to see the dwarfs. Don't be afraid, they said. We are the 7 dwarfs. What is your name? I am Snow White, she replied and told them her story. The dwarfs spoke among themselves and then said, Stay with us, Snow White. Take care of our home, cook, clean, and keep everything tidy. In return, we will protect you. Grateful, Snow White agreed. From that day on, she lived happily with the dwarfs. Every morning, they went to the mines, and in the evening, she welcomed them with a warm meal. Meanwhile, back at the castle, the wicked queen once again asked her mirror, Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all? The mirror answered, You, my queen, are beautiful. But Snow White, who lives beyond the mountains with the dwarfs, is still fairer than you. The queen shrieked in fury. That girl still lives. I must destroy her. She used her dark magic to create a poisoned apple, so enticing that no one could resist. Disguising herself as an old woman, she traveled to the dwarf's cottage and knocked on the door. Who is it? Snow White called out. Just a poor old woman, dear child, the queen replied. I have a beautiful apple for you. Snow White hesitated. I cannot let anyone in. The dwarfs forbade me. Oh, child, the old woman said, just take the apple in exchange for a piece of bread. I am hungry. Seeing the delicious red apple, Snow White couldn't resist. She bit into it, and immediately collapsed to the ground. The queen cackled. Now, the dwarfs will never wake you. That evening, when the dwarfs returned, they found Snow White lifeless. Heartbroken, they cried and tried to revive her, but it was too late. Unable to bury her, they placed her in a glass coffin on a snowy mountaintop. One day, a prince hunting in the forest came across the dwarfs mourning around the glass coffin. He read the golden inscription, Here lies Princess Snow White. Enchanted by her beauty, he pleaded. Please, let me take her with me. I will build a grand memorial in her honor. Moved by his sincerity, the dwarfs agreed. As the prince's servants lifted the coffin, they stumbled, and the piece of poisoned apple fell from Snow White's mouth. She gasped and opened her eyes. Seeing the prince, she asked, Where am I? You are safe, he replied. Will you come with me and be my queen? Snow White agreed, but first wished to find her father. The prince led a battle against the wicked queen, freeing the king from her captivity. Fearing their wrath, the queen fled the kingdom and was never seen again. The king joyfully blessed Snow White's marriage, and she wed the prince in a grand celebration. From then on,